Let's get some price picks in today, guys. Extremely late video, but I figure we're on such a hot streak, might as well get something in for today. Last I slipped did well, went 4-2 here. Valorant cashed easily. The stack on Kyle Tucker and Yainer Diaz did not end up panning through. Kyle Schwarber hit this right away, and then Yan did not get her significant strikes, but her opponent did actually end up cashing. She had Wei Li in this other slip that actually cashed 4x. It's a very similar slip to the slip I actually gave out in the video. You could see I had Wei Li, and I said every significant strike is going to count, and she cashed right above that 1.5 significant strikes at 106. There was a lot more grappling in this fight than expected, and Wei Li was kind of taking the advantage of the fact that she almost choked Yan out, or practically did choke her out in the first round. So it was a lot of grappling afterwards. I'm surprised Wei Li even hit the strikes in the end. And you could see the other pick I went for, Jessica Andrade, did end up cashing quite easily here, and her opponent also cashed over 55.5 significant strikes. So very good there. And then on underdog, if you guys got this slip in, I showed it in last night's video with Charles Oliveira on his under significant strikes. His opponent did not end up going under, but we still cashed a 6x here. And then this slip was another 4x, but did not involve any MMA. Overall, a pretty annoying day, because as you could see, I got 3 4x's here in the Discord. Just one extra play gives you 38x. So you can see how annoying this actually is. 3 slips with 1 off from a 38x compared to a 4x. Massive difference in payout. But we'll see what I can do on the board for today. We're going to be looking at the Dodgers versus the Padres tonight. That is the only game left here because I'm uploading this quite late. But I figure I get this nice slip in for you guys. And then we're going to mix it up with some CS2 that starts actually tomorrow morning. So let's start with this Padres game here. We're actually going to be rooting on for the Padres, not the Dodgers here. They're slight underdog here, plus 130. But for example, Max Holloway, if you watched UFC last night, was at plus 132. So I'm not really too concerned about this. It's going to be a close game no matter what. But we're going to be leaning on towards the Padres because we're going to be stacking a bunch of players. And the first person we're going to go with is actually James Paxton on his under 16.5 pitching outs. And as I build out the slip, you're going to see how these picks are actually all coming down together. So Paxton on his under 16.5 pitching outs. Why are we going for this? Like I said, we're going for a Padres win, so we want them to score as many runs as possible. The more runs that Paxton's going to let in, or just more hits in general, he's going to be subbed out sooner than his expected line. And already, if we look at his line, there is actually juice toward this under 16.5. Which means he's more likely to pitch 16 or less outs compared to the over. And we're hoping that he plays maybe 5 innings, honestly, just get him out of there while the Padres run him down. So since we want the players to be running them down, we're going to grab some basis props and some hits, runs, RBIs. And we're going to start off with the man himself, Fernando, on his over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. And we're going to try to build with players that kind of bat around him. Why? Because if someone is on base, for example, on first or second base, Fernando could easily get a hit and an RBI within that same inning, or within one play. Maybe he gets a single and he runs someone home, giving him an RBI and a hit. So that's kind of the idea we're going for. If you're checking the lineups, you could go Cronenworth, you could go with Xander here. But the thing is, we're actually going to go with Rosario. So he's batting 9th. By the 3rd inning, if San Diego is doing well, it's very likely that Rosario could get on a base, and then Xander and Fernando are still going to be batting after him, meaning they could run Rosario in. But that's not as important because all we need Rosario for is just a total base. So that's where we're going to go with Rosario on his over total bases, and maybe Fernando ends up running him in throughout this game, but honestly, it's not that important. In general, as long as the Padres are hitting enough, they're going to be scoring more runs, which is going to allow Paxton to go under his pitching outs, but it's also going to give more opportunities for both these guys to hit more often, right? If they might get 5 at-bats, maybe even 6, that might be pushing it a bit. But for example, the more runs they're scoring, the more pitches they're hitting is going to bring on more and more opportunity for these guys to get extra at-bats. So that's what we're going for in this specific case. Like, yeah, it would be nice if Fernando ends up running in Rosario, but it's not necessary. We're just going for the Padres to get as many hits as possible, and ideally scoring runs so Paxton ends up getting subbed out. Now, on top of this, since we're going for the San Diego win, I did this in a video a couple days ago. I'm going to go with the actual pitcher for the winning team. So I'm going to go with Yu Darvish on his over 28.5 pitcher fantasy score. I think this is a great line for him, honestly. If we go and check his projection on RotoWire, see 28.3. So that's actually lower than what he set on Prizepicks, but I still like this 28.5 line because if you actually look at the scoring chart, you get +6 for a win and +4 for a quality start. A quality start is when you let in at most 3 earned runs or less and you play at least 6 innings. Now, the thing with Yu Darvish is he might not play 6 innings, so he might not qualify for this quality start. That being said, we don't really need the quality start for him to cash because he's going to get a couple strikeouts. I'm projecting about 6 strikeouts for Yu Darvish, and that's kind of what the sports books have him at, 5.5 with a bit of juice towards that over. So we could see 6 strikeouts, and then if we go and check his actual outs, they're expecting about 16.5, so he might not play up to that 6th inning, but he should still be getting 16 fantasy score for that alone. You get 1 fantasy score per out, so that's 16 alone. Then we got 6 times 3 for the strikeouts, but every earned run is going to be -3. So if we get 6 strikeouts and 3 earned runs, we're netting 9 fantasy score between the strikeouts and the earned runs. So if Darvish only pitches 16 outs, gets 6 strikeouts and 3 earned runs, that's already 16 plus 9, which puts us at 25 fantasy score. So that's 25 fantasy score out of this 28.5. If he ends up actually pitching to 6 innings, he's for sure going to cash. He gets a win if he's winning by the time he's subbed out and if he plays at least 5 innings and if the Padres end up going on to win the game. And the Padres are more likely to win the game if these guys are going over their props, right? The more at-bats they're getting, it means they're scoring more runs, more hits, which means all these 3 guys are extremely correlated together. If all these guys are doing well, you could expect all 3 of these to cash because the Padres are going to lead and potentially win the game, meaning Darvish is going to get that 6 fantasy score for that win. Now, of course, Darvish could pitch a terrible game and these guys could still cash, but you get the point. We're going for that winning scenario, and it's perfect because we have an example from tonight, this Pittsburgh Pirates game versus the Phillies. Not even done yet, but you can see it's 9-2 towards the Pirates, and the Phillies were actually a heavy favorite to win this game. I think they were all the way up at -190, and you can see everyone in their team basically has that hits, runs, RBI. Ironically enough, the only ones that don't have their hits, runs, RBIs are the main 2 batters and the 8th here. But you could see Mitch Keller pitched 7 innings, got 4 strikeouts, 2 earned runs. I don't know what his line was at, but he for sure cashed because he's going to get that win. He got that quality start, and he got that net 6 points for the strikeouts and the earned runs. And if you go check Zach Wheeler, he only pitched 5 innings. I don't know what his outs line was. I'm guessing it was probably at 15.5. So you can see how it all comes together in this specific example. The Pirates did very well tonight. The opposing pitcher got subbed out, and the Pirates pitcher also hit over on his fantasy score. So that's what we're going for tonight in this specific case. On top of that, the juice on both of these guys is towards the over. If you go and check the sports books, I'm not going to get into that because I just did a whole explanation. I hope this all makes sense. So now we're going to go over to CS2, and our CS2 actually did well last night. It was actually Valorant, but it's basically the same game. And you can see this game actually went to overtime in the first map. And this guy cleared his line so easily because he got 68 kills out of 36.5. Stacey kind of struggled a bit, only got 28 out of 26.5, but he would have never cleared this if the first map did not go to overtime. So that's why it's very important that these games are longer than expected, meaning there's going to be more kills. So like I said, these games are going to be for tomorrow, and I'm targeting 2 guys from this specific game here, alternate attacks versus Zero Tenacity. And I'm going with this headshots prop here at over 13 map 1-2 headshots on Sky. This line is pretty low compared to Underdog at the very least. If we go and check versus Underdog, he's set at 14.5 headshots. We have him all the way down at 13. That is a 1.5 headshot differential. For all the NBA fans, think about getting an extra 1.5 rebounds on someone like Jokic or Giannis, for example, who are going to be getting a lot of rebounds. So this is very crucial. And this is not the only player that we're getting an advantage on. We're also getting an advantage on the player from the other team. So he's on Zero Tenacity here. But you can see on Simk, he's set at 16.5 on Prizepicks. And on Underdog, he's set at 18. So another 1.5 headshot differential for us. And this game, if we go and look at AA versus Zero Tenacity, -150 money line towards alternate attacks. And you can see this is a tough matchup because there is no clear favorite here. It's -138 to +100. So definitely going to be a tighter game. So you love to see that when you're grabbing the overs in a specific game. So that is going to be the full slip, mix of MLB and some CS2. Let's keep the streak going.